Hey everyone, Eric Hayden here on YouTube. Merry Christmas to everyone. I hope you had a good holiday. It certainly doesn't feel like Christmas out here today in the garden. We're going to cover spraying during the winter, a little winter weeding, and what can you do with your rose bushes if it's extremely warm. I saw an article, some cherry blossoms have come out up toward DC. We're very, very warm across the eastern 2/3 of the country. Today, we're going to be in the 70s again. So even though the calendar says a couple days after Christmas, we are going to talk about winter gardening and things you can be doing in the garden if you have extremely warm weather. For a lot of you, you just can't do much, but there are a couple tips we're going to cover if you do have an extended period of warm weather. First things first, very excited to get some new headphones. Finally got with 2021 and got some wireless earbuds thanks to Santa. Let me know how the quality is. Curious in the comments below if the sound is a little bit better than what I had before. At the very least, there's been quite a few times I was doing some pruning in the garden, or I would just be in the garden itself and the wires would get tangled up in the roses, and I'm surprised I haven't cut them by now. So it's about that I got with 2021 and got some wireless earbuds. So let me know what you think about the sound quality. So as we mentioned, we've been extremely warm here in eastern North Carolina. We have had 2 hard freezes back in, I guess in the middle to latter part of November and then into December. So we have had some freezes, got down to 25, 26 degrees. So we've had some cold snaps, but by and large, the prediction of a La Nina winter being a mild one has been true. And you can see my friends up where I used to live in New York will probably laugh that we still have green leaves. So you can see as a result of that, we have green leaves. Not only do we have green leaves, we have new bud eyes pushing out to small little canes that are trying to develop. So what can I do? Well, there's not a lot you can do, and there's not a lot to be worried about. You can't stop Mother Nature, but you can fully see from this cane all these new bud eyes. And if you've been following our channel for a while, we have this problem in the Carolinas where we have some cold spells, but then very warm spells during the winter. So the concern was, hey, I've got all this new growth. What's going to happen if it gets cold again? Well, what's going to happen is a lot of this is going to die back. And there's just not much you can do about it. You can't keep the plants from growing. Mother Nature is going to do its thing. So in those other videos, I talked about, that's why I don't prune too much in the fall. I take a little bit off just to make sure the roses aren't rocking back and forth. But the reason why I don't give them a good haircut is, let's say we have a hard freeze. All this foliage will die back or maybe get stunted. Or what is more likely to happen, some of these bud eyes have pushed out this real tender growth, that's gonna die. And in some cases, you're gonna have death going down the cane. So this whole top half of the cane will die back. And all you do is you'll just cut that out in the spring. So I just take this down a little bit lower in the bush to a more dormant bud eye like that, and I'll be good to go. It's a little concerning, it's late December and it's already pushing out, but I got a lot of margin of error. So basically you just prune out anything that dies in the spring and we'll be good to go. So there's not much you have to do in the garden to, let's say, stop anything from happening, because it's already gonna push out because of the warm weather. The thing you can do in the garden is spray. And I don't know if you're like me, I really kind of get tired of spraying come fall. You've sprayed all season, so I kind of let things go a little bit, which is probably not the best thing. But you'll notice, along with the warm weather and some rain we've had, we do have some black spot in the garden. I'm not overly concerned because, again, a lot of this leaf matter and canes are going to be pruned out, because you know darn well, no matter how warm the winter is, we're going to have at least a couple more freezing days, perhaps down into the teens or 20s. So I'm going to be cutting a lot of this out. But the point of today's video is, if you're in a warmer climate, and I know wintertime is a nice time to take a break, but if you're in a warmer climate, I highly suggest you can consider spraying once a month. And again, here's some black spots showing up on the leaves. This is on Double Delight. Is that gonna fall off? Is this cane gonna be around in the spring? No. But if I'm spray once a month, which I haven't done, so that's why you can see the black spot, but I'm gonna start spraying once a month here in December, January, and February. So any of this newer growth, which doesn't have black spot on it yet, that's going to continue to thrive. So one or two things is going to happen. Number one, it's going to keep the plant healthier. And you can see that on some winter tender plants, it is going to suffer some dieback no matter how warm the winter is. For example, Marilyn Monroe, very winter tender plant. Look at this dieback that I have here from those couple cold December and November days where we got into the 20s. I mean, you can see this cane is completely dead all the way back down to here. So some of those winter tender plants, if they have a lot of disease on them, they're going to be much weaker. So the first thing a monthly preventative spray is going to do in a mild climate in the winter, it's going to keep your bushes healthy. So that's the first and foremost. Number two, if you don't have cold snaps and you don't do as much pruning as you think you're going to do, come spring, you'll have a nice clean palette to work with. The garden will be in good shape and you'll hit the ground running. I have found, I know it's hard to get out there and spray in the garden during the wintertime months, but I found when I just let things go like this, and I don't do anything December and January and February, and then when I prune in the spring, and that's when I decide to start pruning, sometimes I have some spores and lesions on the canes, and it's an uphill battle the rest of the spring. So with any type of spraying program, whether it's for bugs or disease, if you can stay ahead of it, it's much easier to maintain it. Ounce of prevention. So try to do that if you live in a warmer climate. Again, reason number one, it's just going to keep the bush healthier. As you can see, I do have some dieback from that cold snap that we had. So even though we're in the 70s, this is Randy Scott, look at all that dieback down lower in the bush because of the temperatures that drastically dropped into the 20s one night. I'm going to start spraying for black spot just to keep these bushes as healthy as possible. In addition to the spraying, this shouldn't take very long because I don't have a lot of leaves on the plant. So this is a quick spray. What am I going to use? A little Manzate, a contact killer for the black spot, and then propiconazole, more systemic. And again, once a month. We're not going out here every week, every other week. If I just hit this once in December, January, and February, that will ensure that the plant is as healthy as possible in the winter in case we have any cold. And again, it's just like a human. If you're healthy, you're in good shape, you've been taking your vitamins, you've been exercising, you can fight off viruses, or in this case, diseases, better than you can if you're weaker. The other thing I'm going to do, and it's a nice day, so it's a little exercise. I have hardly any weeds in the garden. As you might imagine, it's wintertime. But look at this little baby weed right now. It would just take 5 seconds to pluck that weed out of the ground and maintain the garden. If you wait, especially if the winter is mild, these weeds will just get bigger. So I like to try on a nice day, spend a half an hour in the garden. Again, they're very small right now, but you can see some of them are getting a little bit bigger. Pluck those out of the ground, and then not only do I have a clean palette for disease prevention from the spraying, now I have clean beds. So when I apply a pre-emergent, which I'll do in February, which prevents weed seeds from germinating, I will have a good clean start heading into the spring. So the 2 points of the video: if you live in a warmer climate, you've got foliage, you've got black spot, you don't need to spray as much as you do in the summer. Just do once a month, December, January, and February. Then at some point, just pluck your weeds out of your garden. So when you get out here for your pruning in February or March, you've got clean beds, you've got clean bushes, and you're ready for a successful start. Getting ahead of it now will help you tremendously by spring. If you start off clean, no weeds, no disease, you're going to be much more successful longer in the season than you would if you're starting with disease and weeds in the garden. Last step, if I have the energy, take the leaves from the fall, chop them up, and kind of spread them in the garden. They'll break down into a nice humus into the soil. I wanted to leave you with one last visual. I spent about the last hour and a half cleaning out this bed, and you might say, man, Eric, that's a lot of work to be messing around with the garden mid-December. I'm listening to a podcast, enjoying 70-degree weather. I'm not really going all that quick. So I'm just taking my time, That's one advantage you have in the winter in terms of you don't need to do it today, tomorrow, even the next day. Just eventually get it done by the spring. The visual I want to give you is what it looks like. This is the second container, 18-gallon container filled up. So despite this bed looking pretty good, not a lot of weeds, not a lot of issues, there's still a lot of debris in there that I didn't realize. Some of it was from pruning in the fall and I just let it fall. I was a little lazy cleaning it up, but it's really good to clean that area out around the bud union. You can see a pretty big bud union here. This is Fortuniana. This is the, I guess it's coming up on the, hard to believe, 5th year that this has been in the ground, Veterans Honor. And this is another nice time just to do some light maintenance in the garden. So some of my signs were buried by, you know, dirt, leaves, debris, kind of gets down there. So this is a real good time just to give your garden a nice little maintenance. Clean up those weeds, clean up the beds, make sure your signs are visible, things like that. So just wanted to give you a quick visual. Only one of the beds have been done. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more to do. So it'll take me a week or so, but there's no rush. But you can see it's in much, much better shape. Some of them don't have as many weeds as this one, so hopefully it goes a little quicker. Once I get the beds cleaned out, I will apply a pre-emergent because we're so warm. Do a little spraying, and maybe I'll put down some lime depending on what the soil test results were from back in November. Those will be future videos here to come. As always, I appreciate the new subscribers as we march toward 1,000. Hard to believe we have that many subscribers because this is a pretty basic channel, just covering what we're doing in the garden here in Eastern North Carolina. Look back at old videos on spraying, fertilization, and more. Just follow us also on Instagram at Rosie Forecast. Have a great one.